Thank you. All right, I'd like to go ahead and bring the Tuesday, September 5th, 2017 Warrenton Board of Aldermen meeting to open. If you would, or to session, please rise with us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If only that could happen.
Next item on the agenda will be the consent agenda items.
First thing is the regular meeting minutes from August 15th, 2017, the special meeting minutes from August 30th, 2017, the work session minutes from August 30th, 2017. Award the salt bid to Morton Salt in the amount of $54.81 a ton. The low bid. Award the cinders bid to Bobby Holscher Trucking in the amount of $13 a ton, the low bid. And the total budget amount for salt and cinders is $17,000. Award the water tapping tool bid to Bamer Brothers in the amount of $1,995. The low bid budget amount was $2,400. And award the Neptune R900 belt clip bid to Schulte Supply in the amount of $5,500. The sole vendor budget amount is $5,500.
Any questions?
I have one question.
Sure.
What is Neptune R900 belt clip?
That's our readers that we get when we read the meters for water.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I was going to ask the same question.
Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Knox, seconded by Alderman Gary Miller. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman John Miller is absent. Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey.
Yes.
Alderman Costello.
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
And Alderman Gary Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with one absent. Next item on the agenda will be hearing from the public. We ask that if you have something to say, you come forward to the podium, state your name, we'll give you 5 minutes to speak. And if we need to carry over, carry over.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, my name is John Barry. I live at 11 Tomahawk in Arrowhead Manor. I've lived there for 43 years, and I want to talk about a public health issue. On August 15th, I was riding my bike, and I encountered a young mother with 5 little ones, one of them holding a mixed breed shepherd. I slowed down. Before I knew what happened, the dog broke loose, bit me twice. Luckily, I was able to get off the bike and get the bike between the dog and myself. The first question I asked the lady was, does he have a tag? She said no. I said, did he have his rabies shots? I don't know. Immediately called 911. Animal control came. They did an excellent job. First question they asked, did the dog have a rabies shot? I don't know. That's when I found out Warrenton has no knowledge of the number of dogs in Warrenton, where they live, who the owners are they large or small, or do you have a record of those like Doberman Pinschers, German Shepherds, Pit Bulls? No knowledge. No requirement for rabies shots. None. That was a shock. I was directed to the county administrative building, and the nurse there, first question she asked, did the dog have a rabies shot? I said, Warrenton doesn't require it. The woman doesn't know. I immediately called my doctor in St. Charles. The very first question he asked was, did the dog have its rabies shots? I said, I don't know. He said, was the dog quarantined? I said, animal control said they would do that. He said, you need to keep a record and make contact after 10 days. I did that this morning, and they did get the shots. But only then is there a penalty. In the meantime, someone like me is up the creek, or a young child, and we have plenty of sidewalks now in Warrenton, We have all kind of people walking, running, biking, and there are dogs all over the place, and you know a lot of people, if they think the dog is on their property, they don't tie it up or chain it. It takes a minute for it to get to the street. I found that out. And there's no records of any kind of shots required. To me, that is a public health menace. Now, I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but it's been 3 weeks. I wore my shorts. You can see the leg where it still has not healed yet. My suggestion is, first of the year, we come up with a program of some way licensing, and part of licensing is rabies shots. We used to do that because when my girls were young, we had to have a tag, and to get the tag, we had to have a proof of a rabies shot from a vet. So I know this is feasible. If we charged a nominal fee for the tag, you could use that money to fund animal control, and they would have the legitimate rationale for keeping the records. They would know where the dogs are, who the owners are, and they'd have a record. It seems logical for a city of 8,000 people that we have a requirement like that. I wanted you to know what happened. It could happen to anybody, and especially with the young kids we have running around schools. If one of these dogs nails one of these kids, we've got a crisis, especially if there's no records of any kind of medical for the dog. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Berry.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
I wasn't aware that we didn't, because
No, we do
We
have
have
an
to have
ordinance.
a-
We do have an ordinance that requires dogs to be vaccinated. It's ordinance 205.060.
because ours is tagged in, we have to get a
There is a
rabies shot.
There's a state statute, and a lot of municipalities have gone away from this, where there's a city licensing tag for canines that requires, not breed specific, but requires people to register their dogs, and I think the statute allows for up to a $3 charge for the city tags for licensing of animals. But we do have an ordinance, and in our municipal court, we regularly enforce the requirement for vaccination. So, for example, I would imagine this mother was probably written a citation. She'll come to court. She'll have to show that the bill was paid for. But we do have an ordinance that requires vaccination and tags on all animals, all canines or cats within the city limits of Warren.
Mr. Gravella, all I can tell you is what animal control told me.
Mr. Berry, can I?
Yeah, well, I can read the ordinance if you guys want.
Well, can you talk, you said it's regularly enforced in municipal court?
Absolutely. We deal with dog bite cases, animals at large. Anytime we have anybody that has a dog that's loose that we impound, we require the vaccinations to be shown, or even a dog wandering, because I think, our animal control tries to be very diligent about it. But no, I would say when we have court this Thursday, we'll probably have 2 or 3 vaccinations where we require them to come and bring proof that the dog was vaccinated at the time of the bite, and also restitution for any injuries. So I'd like to get your name so I can find out whose dog it was, to make sure if you had any out-of-pocket medical records, we can get that paid. But we do have a vaccination ordinance, and we do enforce it. And occasionally when people are indigent, we even work with the local vet to see if they'll do it at a reduced rate so we can make sure the dogs are vaccinated. But we do not have a license anymore. I'm sure at some point the city of Warrenton had a vet or a dog license, just like I'm sure Warrenton probably had the car license as well, which is also allowed by statute. But just over time, that's kind of gone away. I don't know when the last time we required the license to be done. But we do have that ordinance, and we do enforce it.
Would there be any advantage to having it so that we kept track of breeds? Because I know we had one gentleman in here that had problems with the dogs. They were outside, they were chained, but they were outside and constantly barking.
So,
that if we could keep track, would there be any advantage to doing that?
I don't think so. I'm not really a big fan of breed-specific ordinances, because as coming from a prosecutor, direction. How do I prove a dog is a certain breed? I'm not going to get a dog genetically tested to show that it's got this or that, or it's gotten certain characteristics. So many dogs are mutts that it's very difficult to say, well, this is a pit bull or this is a Rottweiler, because, you know, it's a very difficult thing to prove. So what we typically do is we deal with it under our vicious dog ordinance. So, you know, basically if it gets a bite, then it you know, if it bites again, then it can be put down under, we can take possession and control of it. We very rarely do that because most people just relinquish dangerous animals. But we focus, our ordinance focuses on the behavior of the animal as opposed to the breed of the animal, because we've had dogs that have been quote unquote vicious breeds that have been great dogs, and dogs that are golden retrievers that have bitten little kids' faces and whatnot. So we try to take the dog bites as serious as possible. This is the first time I've heard of your situation, but we do enforce the rabies vaccination and the tags. They are required to have and show proof of all their shots. Now, we don't go out and proactively knock on people's doors and say, does your dog have its tags and rabies? But we do work with the local vet, and we also, if we have a dog that comes into the possession of the animal control, we require proof of all the vaccinations, whether it's a wandering dog or a dog that bites.
Well, the animal control told me that after the quarantine, 10 days, they had a week to get the vaccination. That was up Friday, and I went in this morning, and the family had gotten the dog vaccinated. But there's a gap here between what animal control thinks and I think in what actually took place.
Well, we'll get that straightened out. I'm here Thursday for municipal court, so I'll work with the chief to see if we can go talk to animal control and make sure that there's a refresher with regards to where they're at with that ordinance. But we do have an ordinance, and there are some cities surrounding here that do not have a rabies vaccination requirement, but we've always had one and we've always enforced it. But we'll make sure we try to get some clarification to the animal control people so they know they're giving the right information out.
I thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, John.
What I've heard this evening is what I've seen a lot of, and that's irresponsible pet ownership. And I am old enough, John, and I think you are also, to remember when the city did have licensing.
Yes.
I'm also old enough to remember when we had city stickers on cars. The problem with it, and Gary, I think you can remember, we would have an open house at City Hall once a year. It seems to me it was in the spring, and you'd have the responsible pet owners would bring their dogs down, get them vaccinated, and there was a nominal fee
I gotta run home and I'll get you the name.
that the veterinarians charged, and all was good. I don't know of any statistics that showed that you still had the same responsible people who loved their pets and cared about the public would come and do that. And I don't know, I'm sure I was in office when we went away from the city stickers and the dog licensing. But I think the position you're in today, not that you enjoyed getting bit by the dog, but you know who the owner is. That's huge. Hopefully she's got homeowner's insurance, and I can tell you that her homeowner's carrier will not tolerate that. And I hope you pursue that. They should reimburse you for your medical costs and probably some pain and suffering. But that will do more to make them responsible pet owners than probably anything the city can do, because they'll probably have some action taken in regard to their homeowner's insurance as far as being able to continue with that, as long as they have that aggressive animal. And again, it's terrible that this happened to you, but you said they also had children. And if that dog bit you, it's probably going to bite some other folks. Shot or no shot, it's going to probably continue to be an aggressive dog. So
I couldn't have a dog around young children
I
that
couldn't
had
either.
done that.
That's responsible pet ownership, though. So I think this is enlightening. I'm not against trying anything that'll work. I just am not sure that the city, knowing every animal that's here is going to fix things. The problem is, the counselor pointed out a little bit, is if you start doing breeds, the problem is they already own the dog, because they don't come and ask the city what breed of dog they can buy. So then you're in that position of trying to get them to get rid of a particular breed of dog because of the breed. And as the city attorney said, they've not, I don't think the other municipalities that I've read about, because they all tried to ban pit bulls, if you remember back in the day, and
Yeah,
almost all of them have gone away from
We
that.
looked into this a couple years ago, and we actually looked at the city of Denver, which has a there's like a voluntary registration and whatnot, and they've really, and I actually had some conversations with some of the local municipal attorneys out there with the enforceability of it, just really struggling with trying to have a registration system and a breed system. And I walked away from that discussion with the city of Denver that a very ambitious effort to try to really regulate certain breeds. With the idea that really the best way to regulate it is the behavior of the animal. And unfortunately, you can't, I think the breed ban tries to proactively, kind of bar all dogs, but then when you really look at the statistics, you find out any dog can bite. And unfortunately, our system really is retroactive. But like I said before, if I can get your contact information, we have court this Thursday. We'll talk to animal control. We'll look into the case. If you have any medical records, get them to us, and we'll be in contact with you about it.
Well, Mr. Perry, I'll tell you, I know we've heard some comments from other people. Being on the other aspect of law enforcement, I'll tell you, for my main job, I support what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. I think we need to look into something. The problem that I've seen in the past is that we always seem to be a dumping ground for people from the county to dump any animals they don't want to run free within our town, which aren't registered or anything else. And we try to deal with it, but sometimes it can be such a high number, it's hard to deal with. Not to say that that should discourage any other type of action we should try and look into for responsible people and knowing what paperwork we have, but that is one of the obstacles last time. It was tremendous.
Well, I wasn't looking to ban any dog, but I think on certain breeds, if we know who the owners are and where they are, that could be a big help to animal control.
No, I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, John.
Anyone else? All right, not seeing anybody, we'll bring the public, hearing from the public section of the meeting to close. Next item would be the Board of Aldermen comments.
Great weather.
Very nice weather.
I was gonna say, I've been around long enough, I remember we used to put chalk on tires on Main Street to control traffic, and business owners would walk out and move their car afoot, and then we'd fix that. So, there's some things it's really hard to enforce.
The newspaper does a good job of their opinions. And I would encourage you to have the question of whether the citizens think we should license and register animals, dogs in particular. Might be a good survey question.
Any other comments?
I had a question for Terry. Do we have a date that dirt starts moving on the overpass? Did you say last meeting?
September 27th.
27. Cool. Thank you.
I had a question now that I think about it. When is the cutoff for the vendors for the fall festival? Is there a date for the last day to get that it has to be before?
I don't know the answer to that. I can get you an answer, but
Okay.
I don't know that off the
Okay.
top of my head.
Somebody had asked me, and I didn't know if we had to have one more meeting before the festival, correct?
Correct.
I guess just before that meeting. That's all I had.
Any other questions, comments?
Thanks.
All right. Move on to the mayor's comments. I am seeking approval for an appointment The appointment would be of Philip Priest to the Planning and Zoning Commission to replace Keith Schwab, who resigned. So I'll be asking for, or entertaining a motion to approve the appointment of Philip Priest to the Planning and Zoning Commission to replace Keith Schwab.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Costello, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Costello?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with one absent. Next item would be the introduction of our building inspector. Is anybody going to do that, or would you like me to?
Mayor, Board, I'd like to introduce Mike Cross as a new building inspector.
How you doing, Mike?
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Appreciate it.
All right. Next item would be the approval, close portions of Oshel Avenue, Pool Street, and Pinckney Street from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the homecoming parade on September 29th. Any questions on that?
I believe
Oh.
somebody, Katie from the school district,
Come on up.
is here if you have any questions.
You want to come up and talk to us?
Of course
She says no.
Look how excited she is. She's excited.
I don't have anything prepared.
You would just go ahead and state your name?
Elizabeth Coper, Student Council Advisor.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions?
What's the football team that end up this year with a 3-0? Can you give a prediction on that?
I don't actually know who we're playing for homecoming.
All right, well. Cricket trick question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not prepared.
Okay.
Oh, we'll entertain a motion to approve the requested street closings for September 29th for the homecoming parade.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Gary Miller. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Costello?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with one absent. You can go back with good news.
Thanks, fantastic.
Good parade.
All right, next item would be the request to waive deposit for Dyer Park Pavilion during Hell on Wheels Railroad Days event. I believe we have somebody come up and speak on that. Please, just come state your name, please.
Mike Daly, Central Missouri Railroad Association. We're the ones hosting the Hell on Wheels Railroad Days this year, and we'd really like it if we could get the Dyer Park waived this year. We have set up Kathy Barton and Dave Para for that October 14th, that evening, to be the big name band that will be at Dyer Park doing the music. The intent was to bring keep the people, for this 2-day event, to keep the people in town, give them something to do at night. They have a place to eat, go out and listen to some music, come back, have something else to eat, drink, and do this. I do have some handouts just so people know we're just not doing this. I do have, there's a copy for everybody there. The flyers that are going out. This is Dave and Kathy's biography there. You can see that. But just so you know, we have spent the money, thanks to the Tourism Board, big name advertising going into Missouri Life, which actually covers quite a large Midwest area. The cow catcher is, again, has given us, you can see, I don't know if you can see that, I had to give it to you. We're in the cow catcher. They actually did a full page article on the whole Hell on Wheels also for us this year. So this is out there, the pages of paper clip there. These are all the copies. But we think that if we get so we don't have a lot of money this year, don't want to keep asking the Tourism Board for a little bit more money or trying to do certain things. But we're getting grants. But again, being the first year, our money's a little bit limited, so if we could absolutely get that fee waived for Dyer Park for that Saturday, it would be fantastic to help the whole community here.
So help me with your request here. Is there a deposit charged on the park that is returned, or is this a fee for using the park?
There is a deposit that is refundable if the park is cleaned up.
And what does that amount, do you know?
It's a two-part, let me clarify, and I kind of recommended Mike come before us on this, because the tourism kind of discussed it, but never really, the thinking on it was, we were requested actually from somebody even before Mike was there, since it was combination of Truesdale and Warrenton working together to put this thing on, could we see our way clear to waive? It's a $50 charge to rent the stage or the pavilion, and then a $50 deposit.
Okay.
The $50 deposit comes back afterwards. So mainly what I was recommending, he asked at the since it is going to bring basically tourism to Warrenton, hopefully, and Truesdale.
We are actually working on using the Historical Society, the Historical Museum for presentations. We do have Dan the conductor set up to big presentations. We're working with Ed Boyce up in Innsbruck, who is working to bring a couple other presenters down, and absolutely want to use the Warrenton area here to keep the people moving back and forth. We have bus service to move people back and forth if necessary, so they don't have to drive back and forth.
Ed owned his own train at one time.
He still does.
I thought he had sold.
We are hoping, we have asked him, we are going to actually have rolling stock on the square behind Coca-Cola. We've asked Ed, and he is working, trying to see if he can at least get a switching engine down there also for us.
Okay, so let's kind of summarize this. So you guys made a request from the Tourism Commission for how much money?
Originally, it was about $2,000.
And so what was your most recent approval?
We just right now, they did approve $2,000. We've just spent $1,000 on advertising for Missouri Life. We have a bill coming for Cowcatcher. I don't know how much that's going to be, exactly what that's going to be. But we do want to, or did request that we have some money set aside for the pavilion rentals. And we were looking for some money for getting printing costs for handing out flyers, trifold flyers, so when people come into town, they have something, developing a map with everything highlighted on the map for everybody. So
I'm just trying to get, so you went in front of the Tourism
Board,
Commission.
it would have been the first part of this year,
You
yes.
requested 2,000, and they recommended 2,000.
They say yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah, 1,000.
So that's 1,000 that.
The $1,000 was the bill for the Missouri Life ad.
So they just approved your bill, but they gave you an up to $2,000.
Originally, yes, they were going to approve up to
There's kind of
$2,000. And we are
And then
probably
there's
going to be
an
under
additional-
that,
So
but
they've got
trying to
another-
maintain so we aren't
They got
coming back and asking for
another
money.
grand in addition to this, basically.
So the $1,000 was just the first bill that actually came in.
Okay.
There's $1,014.17 that tourism recommended approval on. That was for the ad and the flyers. That's the only thing that they'd requested.
Right, so
at
far.
this last meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have not got the bill from the Cowcatcher yet, and we were waiting to get a little bit closer so we could finalize some of the flyers, excuse me, to go out to the public. So when the public come in, we'll have flyers to hand them to say, this is where the trains are, this is where the speakers are, this is where the music is. But we do have Rebecca Boone Gymnasium. The school district did give us the Rebecca Boone Gymnasium for 2 days to use also, so we will be using that.
So I have two thoughts on this. One, the $50 refundable. I mean, I don't see that as something we ought to be spending a lot of time on because it's coming back to you. So
Yeah, right.
surely somebody can write a check for $50 and then have it returned. The key is, and I don't think we should give up on that, we need the park to be returned in the same condition you found it in. Otherwise, the
I
city.
agree with that, absolutely, yeah.
But then secondly, on the $50 fee, and I'm going to direct this question to Terry, what kind of issue do we run into if we start waiving fees? Has that been done in the past? And
It has, I want to pass it to the council.
There is a statute that, I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but there's a statute that says the board does not have the authority to waive fees and deposits. And we dealt with this a couple of years ago with regards to the water and sewer hookup fees, that there's a statute that prohibits it.
Right.
Now, the board obviously could vote to pay it and then pay themselves the $50, but you're always concerned with what kind of precedent, because there's a lot of nonprofits and events that come in to use that, and we've tried to set that fee amount that was reasonable for the use.
Well, and that's why, tourism is specifically there to promote tourism. This is obviously something that we want, as well as I was excited to listen to the Tourism Commission talk about the games they're scheduling, the tournaments. I think that those are all just right down the path of what we need tourism to be doing. So my concern is I would rather see you request more money from tourism, and certainly I would be supportive of that. On these small issues, I think we create more problems for ourselves than we fix when we're talking about $50 deposits and $50 fees.
Then what, we have another tourism meeting before
Right.
so the simplest way to handle it would be just to bring it up then
I will do that.
and let tourism.
And I
Now, will the
totally,
board approve it if tourism recommends it?
and I totally support what you're doing. It's exactly that, you're bringing new people with different interests and all that into the community. I've been known to throw a little money at something like that. So I'd rather than see the city create bigger problems for us in the future, I'd rather see
That's fine.
what Mike's talking about, that you request additional funding at the tourism level. And in the meantime, if you need the money, see some of us after the meeting. I'd rather
I can write you. a
I'd
check.
rather see it.
And I think part of the confusion came because they were talking about concert in the park, and there's basically no charge to the tourism commission on that, but that is actually done in cooperation with the park board and the city.
That's a city
So
function.
it's not a separate, that's, I think, where the confusion may have come in, so.
Yeah.
I
So,
do
yeah.
appreciate your efforts, and I rode the Silverton train from Silverton to Durango to Silverton, and that's pretty awesome.
Good time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Do you need any of this other back?
No, I don't do that stuff. Just my magazines.
We'll catch up on later. With that being said, since there is a statute that does not allow the city to waive the fees, I'm going to go ahead and say that motion is dead on the floor. Right. Next item will be scheduling a work session to discuss the changes in IBC and IRC building codes. Would you like to speak on that, Terry?
Back during our planning session, the board had discussed wanting to have a work session to basically compare the differences between our current building code and the 2015 version, because if you remember, we saw a reduction potentially in our classification for insurance purposes because our 2009 IRC code is more years old than what they prefer for it to be. So my question to you is, do you still want to have a work session to compare those and specifically go through it at this point, or do you want Jack to prepare a document that you can just review? How do you want to handle that? And if you want to have a work session, what dates are you open so that we can get that work session scheduled?
Well, my inclination is to have Jack prepare a document, so we can have a discussion in council meeting, because if we change the code, I think that gives the community some kind of justification for why we're doing this. We're just not changing the code behind somebody's back so we can make it more difficult for developers or coming in or businesses coming in. I think it gives the public a little chance for education. So that would be my preference.
Okay, so we'll prepare a comparison document with the high points.
Right.
And then we will put that on a future agenda for as our discussion topic. How about that?
Sounds good.
Is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Great.
Great. One less meeting doesn't hurt my feelings.
Any other questions on that? All right. Next will be the discussion to renew the service agreement with the Greater Warren County Economic Development Committee. Is the rep going starting us off on that? Representation on that?
I can,
Kind of putting her in the spot.
I attended a meeting, we had a board meeting last week on August 29th, and kind of got an update on everything. I'll give you a real quick update on what's, some of the things that are going on. They're working on a potential port authority application for Warren County. And it was very well received at the state level. In fact, they urged us to move forward with it in conjunction with Montgomery County. They thought a regional Warren-Montgomery County Port Authority would really be it's something you can apply for. St. Charles has applied for it. So we're in the process of working on that now. What it does, it allows you to get some more funds, and basically they're looking at it as a not just environmental, but to help with our highway situation, because they feel if they have more, especially with the grain traffic that could be used on the barge as opposed to using the interstate highways, that's a plus. So that's one of the things we're working on. There'll be eventually, I guess, when the state, they will direct us to come before each of the cities in the counties to work to request on, to get approval on that. So that's something that they're working on. Also, they're working on a Warren County entrepreneurship initiative. And I think Jim Gates is kind of the driving force behind this. There's a significant grant money available. It would be what you may call incubator, business incubations and things like that. And we're working to try to attract some of the young business people, not just in Warrenton, but Warren County and Montgomery County. They had a meeting with a bunch of the, not just, they're from real estate, they're from retail, different organizations, and trying to move forward with that. So there's a lot going on. Well, we had a meeting with the school board, president of the school board, and Joe Shoey also was at the meeting and talked about the superintendent search. So we wanted some input from the economic development group on that. A lot of things going on. So I guess this year we already approved $10,000 for the budget, or it's in the budget for this year's approval. So
Can somebody help me out here? What's the difference between this and the money we approve that Ethan Todd's going to be working on? Two different deals?
the what now?
Well, we've already agreed to pay Ethan Todd's company, I guess.
That's Better Roads Forward. That's totally different.
To us, this is different. Are you regularly attending these meetings? Mike?
What's that?
Are you regularly attending these meetings?
Yes.
Because-
I haven't been to the last toll road meeting. I was out of town or something when they had that. But I did bring up at the EDC meeting the other night that you all had requested. I know in one of the earlier meetings when we were talking about the Better Road Forward and the EDC, I think it was Alderman Costello asked if we could get some representatives before us to talk to us. Better Roads Forward, we've been in contact with Ethan Todd and David Barklage, and I think they are open to coming before us, if I'm not mistaken. Terry, is that
I
right?
think Ethan thought he had them scheduled, but then they had other commitments. So
Okay.
they actually were supposed to be here tonight.
Okay.
So
So
we-
so they're aware of it. And then I requested somebody from the EDC, if they would come and talk to us and bring us an update. I can give you some more update on, right now, like we talk about what's in the pipeline, how many things are in the pipeline that they're looking at, and that's with economic development. There's a lot of things going on in the pipeline, but you can't talk a lot about that because it needs to be confidential.
Well, I think everybody, I mean, to me, and I don't want to open up a sore wound here, but to me, one of the things we talked about is having more knowledge of what's going on, how's our dollar being spent, et cetera. And I know we have a couple copies of stuff from them via emails, but it seems like it was a good start and it kind of fell off. And when we look at the economic development report every month when we get it, I think there's a line for EDC and it's always marked zero contacts or something. So,
There's a little bit of a budget to show you.
well, yeah, I understand that, Mike, but I just don't, I thought there was gonna be a little bit more information forthcoming, or was that solely gonna be from you and John?
From me and who?
John, the two representatives we decided.
Yeah, I
Well,
think you
John
guys-
hadn't ever been to a meeting. He doesn't go unless I can't make it, and I've made all the EDC meetings, so.
And that was true. He was supposed to be a.
But I don't know how much more information you want me to bring to you.
Well, I mean, I
I think
thought,
we're getting more than we did when Michelle was
I think
doing it,
we've got
so.
2 emails from them, copies of information a couple times, but it seems like it's been a while. I think somebody was sending out emails, and updated their reports, and there was different forms on there, because I remember one of the charts talked about what do companies value when they look at the community, and there was some other information on there. But it has been a while since we got that.
But for clarification, you're talking about from the actual Greater Economic Development Committee, Greater Warren County Economic Development.
Right.
Not Alderman
Well,
Shelby, but from that actual.
Yeah, I don't care how it comes, I just thought we were in line to get something on a more regular basis, that's all. Because I thought the chart was informative, because we've always been told certain things about why businesses come to communities, and the chart indicated those things weren't true at all. There was other factors, and so I thought it was interesting to read something on a more current basis. That's my opinion.
I think,
Greg, let me see that. I think in there is, and there might be a little bit on this, Gary, about what you're talking about. As far as actual, some of the companies that have been looking at this and what they've not been able to find, most of the time is buildings, one that they can occupy, and they look at everything from 80,000 square foot buildings, 20,000 square foot buildings, stuff like that. That seems to be the big thing. Other than that, then it becomes a point of acreage if they can find, suitable, a big enough ground, and that could be anywhere from 20 to 40 to, one of them here, I forget, was looking for.
Well,
So, I don't know, if
I
that's
guess the
what
thing
you.
that jumped out to me, Mike, is when I read the report, we always were told that companies come in the area because of your workforce. But when you looked at that pie chart of the workforce, it was a very, very, very tiny piece. And so some of that reading is kind of interesting. It's not interesting to sit here and mumble through it, but, you know, it's, more information is better than less information, I guess that's my point.
Well, I can probably get you updates on that, because they're constantly updating this information.
I don't mean to cut into you.
Yeah.
I know you were going to say something earlier.
Well, you're on two different topics, and I think both are important. The roads program, I did request the sit down with that group, and I now have additional information I could give them, that if you take a motorhome with a tow vehicle from Oklahoma City to Joplin, it costs you $22. So I think I've got information for them that they might want to know about. The point being, if you go from, in Oklahoma, from central Oklahoma, basically to the southwest Missouri border, there's nothing. It is totally undeveloped. And being a little bit less facetious about it, I do, however, believe that we need to start working with this group or another group on what we are going to do in Missouri with our interstate system. And just setting on it and being against toll roads is not going to fix that problem. We've got to come up with some revenue source, whether that be an additional gas tax. We need to do something. We need to do it now. You look at the interstate. You looked at it last night about 6, 7 o'clock. It's overwhelmed. To get back to the situation with the Greater Warren County group, I don't have any problem in investing with this group, but we had a certain president who coined the phrase trust but verify. So what's more important to me is that we see the audit that I understand was agreed to. This money that is requested now, what period of time is that for?
It's for a yearly due.
July 1st,
Of this year?
2017 to June 30th
Okay.
of 2018.
So to get this off dead center, I would make a motion that we,
Well, actually, it's going to be in the bills to order.
Well, but I think
Okay.
you're gonna want to amend that motion, right? Because that you bring up an interesting point. Wasn't the provision of paying this the requirement for an audit, or did that change?
Last year, because there was a lot of confusion about what period and were we gonna rejoin or were we gonna wait, there was not an audit provision in the agreement that was signed. So what you have in front of you tonight is going back to the original agreed upon provisions, which is a full fiscal period with the audit requirement at the end of the fiscal period.
I mean, and a lot of what Mike brought us up to date on the projects that they're working on, almost none are in the city of Warrenton. So we have to recognize that it's a regional approach. The Port Authority, obviously, that's got to be on the Missouri River. It's the only river I know that comes close to Warren County. So that's going to be kind of out of our operating area. So really then the decision we're making is to spend $10,000 in taxpayer money. And the only thing I want to make sure of is that we, number one, get the benefit, our taxpayers get the benefit of that. And I think Certainty is a prime example of benefit. A lot of good jobs, a lot of people that I know that are working there, so that's not in Warrenton, but certainly it is a benefit. But I absolutely believe we need to make sure we get an audit with financial statements, and that has to be part of the deal. And that way, when somebody asks me on the street, what are we getting for this $10,000 investment, I'll have a better answer for them. So that's where I'm at.
And I think part of that was because we went in, we had gotten out and then we went back in, and that's partially why we didn't have the audit. Isn't that correct?
Well, we were unsure of the period we were entering
Right.
for.
Right.
Because if I remember correctly, we were almost to the end of June.
Correct.
But we were just then paying for the period that started way back
Correct.
prior July. So last year was a little bit
This is a more
different.
precise date, so we can actually ask for the audit to be done.
Exactly, and I think, Alderman Costello, if your desire is to have a financial statement, I think we need to specify the frequency. Do you want a quarterly financial? Do you want it twice a year? Do you only want it at the end of the year? I think in fairness to them,
Sure.
we need to say what basis it is that we're requesting their financial statement.
So one question, Terry, we got, initially, when we used to do 11,000, 1,000 of which was for an audit, right? Now, they do the audit, they supply the audit now, don't they? Right, wasn't that why that was taken out?
I can't answer that question.
I think that's what it
I would
was.
think other cities that are also part of this group would also want an auditor.
I hate to say, actually, that is part of our ordinance that we requested after a certain amount. I don't know that other cities have that. It's an ordinance that we have when we request. I've never honestly checked into that. I have, and God rest his soul, when Dave and I would speak, Dave Heiliger, Mayor Heiliger, I don't believe they did.
Okay.
But by our ordinance, we do request it just for accountability's sake and part of our transparency that we've always encouraged to try and have.
Well, and for some history, Greg, this is a pretty small amount for the city to kick in for regional development. So I don't have any problem supporting that. But as much as we want to support regional development from an industrial perspective, my wish has always been that they would help support retail development within the area, because if they go hand in hand, and if we have a project going on within the city, I would hope they would talk that up as much as we would talk up one of their projects that may not be in the city of Lawrence. So it's really.
At least not be against it.
Or at least not be against it. So that's my perspective on it, but it's $10,000. It's a lot of taxpayers' money, ought to make sense. But, to me, this is a relationship, so if we see regular stuff coming through, then it's an opportunity to read what's going on. That's another way of getting assurance of what's going on.
And I would like to meet with this group and the highway group.
And they said they will, we just need to set up a working day. Gary, and one of the things, they admit they are not equipped to promote retail. But if they, when any of them, Josh or Steve Etcher, get any, as far as questions about retail in Warrenton and everything, I think they push it over to now, I guess.
Her reports though, Mike, that we get from, who's filling out those reports, the economic development, I don't remember ever seeing anything on the line for EDC.
Well, I don't know. And maybe they don't.
One contact or two contacts or something, because you see, well, here I got contacted by the St. Louis Economic Development Group or some group, and you see numbers. I've never seen a number for the Greater Warren Economic Development on her reports. So
maybe they don't get asked, I don't know.
Well, but I mean, and it's not just what they're doing officially, it's just talking up the town, being positive about stuff being there, because this is a team effort on all our parts. Because I want to talk up what the EDC is doing, and I hope they want to talk up what the city is doing, because we have some great stuff going on. It's going to have tremendous impact on the area, and that needs to be a back and forth flow. It's just like we talk up the Veterans Memorial thing, they talk up the city. This is just, it's a team effort, and we just need to keep that going and get it
I
going.
think everybody needs to sit down at the table and talk about it. Yeah, that's, talk about who did what and who wants what, but until you sit down and talk to them, and I think they would, I wouldn't imagine they would agree to meet with us.
And I also think it's important that we get this done on a timely basis. We don't need to be talking about this 3 months from now, and they need to have the money sooner than later.
I'll just say, this will be a bills ordinance, so we'll be approaching this later on in the meeting.
To answer one of your questions about tolling, Alderman Costello, Alderman Miller and I were at Eggs and Issues the other day, and I can't remember who it was that brought it up, but there was one of the, might have been Jeannie Riddle was talking
Brian
about
Spencer, I think.
that there is a group now, I forget who all's part of it, but they've got like a seven-point You remember I remember it being number 7-point thing that they want to look at. It's not just a tax increase, it's a combination of things
But if it
that they're
doesn't end up-
looking at as part of this 21st century.
But I mean, if it doesn't end up in additional funding for highways,
Well, that's what it's for.
It doesn't
That's what it's for, because they know they're behind the 8 ball on it, and they're looking.
I think eventually, when all of the dust settles, we're gonna need a gas tax increase.
That was part of it.
To
There was
fund
a smaller
what we
one and
need.
then doing other roads.
Well, hopefully soon we can meet with both entities and do a workshop,
Good.
or an open meeting, either way.
let's do it.
All right, any other questions or comments before we move on?
Nope.
All right, next we'll hear from our Director of Operations and Finance Officer, Terry Thorne.
My first item for you this evening is a request for approval of the recommendations from the Tourism Commission that met on August 22nd. They had 3 requests for interstate attraction sign reimbursements. Those were $600 each. They also had a request from the Tribute to Veterans Memorial for $40,000, which is the final payment on the bronze statues, and a request from the Hell on Wheels Railroad Days for $1,014.17, which is flyers and a half-page ad in the Missouri Life magazine. Total of those requests were $42,814.17.
Motion to accept the Tourism Commission's recommendations.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Alderman Costello, seconded by Alderman Schultz to accept the tourism recommendation for $42,814.17. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Costello?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with 1 absent.
My next item for you is under operational updates. You had at your desk tonight a copy of a standard agreement for professional services from Crawford Murphy Tilley. This is for the traffic study and analysis that MoDOT is requiring for the Warrior Avenue extension to the new pool park. They have not had traffic studies there for a while, so the traffic studies will happen, and then that will result in what changes need to be made to the traffic signal to accommodate the proposed traffic that will be coming. Total of that agreement is $31,675.
So this is something we initiate, not the highway department.
Well, the highway department is requiring us to initiate the traffic analysis so that they know what changes have to happen with the signaling.
So but if we don't initiate, then they're not gonna do anything with the signaling. It takes our initiative to do the process.
If we don't initiate, then we don't get a permit to extend Warrior Avenue from MoDOT.
That's the hook. Okay, I was trying to figure out what the hook was.
Yes.
There's always a hook.
All right.
There. Unfunded mandates, they call it.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't see the hook.
I don't plan to legal lawyer at that time. No offense, Chris.
None taken.
So you don't need approval on that, you just.
Yes,
you
we do need.
Well, obviously Alderman Locke's not gonna make the motion, so I will.
Oh, I'll second it.
So motion is to accept the standard agreement for professional services. And motion is made by Alderman Costello, seconded by Alderman Ock. They have a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Costello?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with 1 absent.
Informational for you, the Public Works Department has started putting the rock on the internal roadway in the park. It's a very long roadway if you've not been there, so it's going to take some time. But they are getting started on that, and we expect Demeen to, if they're not already over there, they will be there by the end of the week, starting up with full construction.
Are we hauling that with our city trucks? No, that makes sense.
It's hauled in
Good.
for our contract.
Good.
So the park is moving forward. Things are getting started. In MoDOT's defense, I got a call today from Chris Knapp, who said that our cost share application, if you remember, for $1 million was denied. However, MoDOT has agreed to credit back $775,000 on our interchange project, which is the cost of the construction inspections. So originally, we would have had to have paid that, and they are going to credit that back to the city, and they're going to take care of the cost of the construction inspection. So
Have they awarded a contract?
the 7th is the date for the formal. They know who the low bidder is. They've already checked all of that out. It's Emery Sapp and Sons, but the formal award by the commission is not until the 7th.
And the bid was under budget?
It was under about $8,551,000, which is 1 point something under budget. Yes, significantly under what the cost projection was.
I'm okay with hearing that.
So, good news there. We will be working, Gabrielle has been working feverishly. We will be having a call with the bond rating agency on the pool bonds end of next week. So that's a huge project to prepare for, and hopefully we will get a good rating, which will give us good interest rates on our pool bonds. So
She's up to it.
As I say, we're counting on you, Gabrielle. No pressure, though. No pressure.
no pressure there.
No pressure.
That's really all I have for you this evening.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Finance Manager Gabrielle Curry.
First item I have is the accounts payable for the month. The amount is $464,903.02.
Do you have any questions on that? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $464,903.02.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Gary Miller. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Schultz? Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Costello?
I'm going to abstain. I understand there's a bill that would create conflict of interest for the appearance of stuff.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0 with one absent, or abstain, and one absent.
So I'm going to ask her if she can guarantee our sales tax increase percentage for the rest of the year. First year came in at 21% over budget. Can we get a guarantee out of that?
So the August numbers,
That's a good start. It's better than last year. Didn't we start negative last year?
So,
we are 3% over budget after the August collections. So that was like a big,
So it was a
timing.
1 month fluke.
yeah, and the next one's down.
But it's still over budget.
It's
Yes,
still over budget.
over budget. So for the month of July, also, you know, in the summary, the revenues exceed expenses by 1.3 million, which includes the loan proceeds, the 13.5 million from the interchange, and then the construction deposit is included in expense, the 12.3 million. So that number's a bit misleading.
any other questions?
Good job as always.
Think you're off the hook.
That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Chief of Police Larry Ellis.
Evening, Board. It was brought up last meeting that there was a problem with the stop sign at Steinhagen and Veterans Memorial. The Public Works Director and I went out and examined it, and that stop sign does sit probably about 18 feet too far to the south, so that when you're traveling north and you get up to Veterans Memorial Parkway, you can't see eastbound traffic because of the residence that sits directly to your left. So the solution that we came up with was to put in a breakaway stop sign surrounded by delineator posts, just like is at Market Street in VMP. And I believe he's already ordered the
Parts are ordered, so whenever they come in, and we'll get that in.
Well, but the other issue is even when you usually you stop at the sign now and you kind of creep up. But when there's that big truck that sits there 90% of the time, you still have to be able to see around him. And it's hard to see around him because sometimes he's pretty, I don't know how close he can get to the fire hydrant there. I don't know what the distance is between the fire hydrant and not, but sometimes he's within 8-10 feet, and you can't, I mean, even if you creep up, you can't see around a vehicle if it's parked there. I mean, it's really, really difficult, and I think that's the bigger issue than the placement of the sign.
Well, the placement of the sign, if you were back and you stopped where it says to stop,
Right.
that when you look to your left, that's where somebody would park that box truck and you couldn't see. When we pulled up, we sat there and looked both ways with putting the sign out closer to the road. It gave you room to look.
Were you in a pickup?
Yes. I was in,
You're not in a little tiny car like most people sit in.
Okay, well-
Elevated higher up. Was there a truck sitting there?
there was not, but I seen the fire hydrant that was located. So I guess the first step would be, we know that the sign's too far back.
Right, so we move it
So
up.
we need, let's address that sign, and then if we need to do something with vehicles parking, we can address it then. I don't know if we can, I know we can paint it off in the distance. I don't know what the distance is between a fire hydrant and where you can park and you can't park.
Right.
I don't, without looking in code, I would be shooting from the hip on that. And maybe they're parking too close to the fire hydrant, and they shouldn't be parking there at all.
Well, maybe there should be no parking on that side of the street.
That's,
But if you
That's
could-
That's
something
a
we
dis-
can definitely look at.
Yeah, if you can continue looking at that.
Yes.
As I know, for us who drive small cars, if there's a truck or car sitting, even when you pull up so you're almost on the crossroad, it's hard to see around,
Okay.
so.
We can take the Tempo, that's about as small as you can get.
You can borrow my little Toyota if you want. Or
So-
my wife's HR.
So we will get that in place,
Okay.
and then we'll relook at it, and if we
Great.
think we need a no parking,
Because I would swear that the truck generally is almost on top of the fire hydrant sometimes. It's that
so then
close.
I will check to see what the distance is for that,
Okay.
and then also mark the road and let
Okay, thank you.
the chief know.
Speaking of closing roads, where are we on the road closing on Celia and that other road? We were,
We have, for the Pinckney Street piece, so south of Celia to Highway U, Mr. Keevan has signed over those documents that need to be signed, and technically, right now, that street is on private property. So I have encouraged them that they need to get some device to close that off, and he is working on that. So you should see within a fairly short period of time, the piece from Pinckney South be closed off to traffic. We've not done anything else with the Celia piece.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chief. Next, we'll hear from Public Works Director Guy Jeevers.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I have a couple items. The first item is a change order for Hickory Lick, and it's an underrun of $19,605.88. MoDOT's got the signature on it, and engineer has that, so.
Any questions or comments on that?
can you explain to me what an underrun is?
First, what they'll do is they come up with a sheet of, for an example, they'll have so much rock, and they didn't use the quantity for the budget for the rock, so it'll be less rock, that'll be an underrun. So they got a list of an overrun, of maybe they use more pipe than needed, and they add all that up, that's an overrun. And then the underrun, like rock and signage and silk fence, all these things that they would use on the site and for the contract, and they put that in another column. And then, so it came in as an underrun. We used less money for the job than.
Okay.
So it's a credit, basically.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we do have a credit on that project.
So far, I'm not done. No.
Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the change order number 3 for Hickory Lick Road Improvement Underrun in the amount of $19,605.88.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Shell Harvey. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Costello?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0 with one absent.
Next item I have is a change order for sewer line. When the sewer was coming through the bottoms from the wastewater plant, we got into some silt, some soupy mud, so we had to readjust the sewer line, and we brought it up. Well, when we brought it up, that created creek crossings, and with us bringing a creek crossing in, that required different pipe and different fittings. So this is a change order for $36,720.
Motion to approve change order number 3 for the East Interceptor sewer line.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Costello, seconded by Alderman Ock. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Costello?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, one absent. Next
Next item I have is amendment number 1 for the water main crossing of I-70 in 2 locations, Market Street. In the beginning, we did a change order for the type of bore that we were going to do, and the engineer had some work involved in that with the bore and was working with MoDOT, and that's a change order for the engineer of $5,054.60.
Any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment number 1 to the task order number 0 for the water main crossing of I-70 in the amount of $5,054.60.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Gary Miller, seconded by Alderman Costello. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Costello?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with one absent.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next, we'll hear from City Clerk Melody Root.
The only item I have for you is the bid for the fireproof records cabinet. There's 3 quotes. Amazon came in at the low bid, but the shipping on it, that would be free, would just be shipping. We would have to unload it from the truck. Where National Business Furniture, even though the product is $5 more, the $250 delivery fee would be them taking it off the truck, bringing it in the building, and setting the cabinet up. And with it being a fireproof safe, it's going to be extremely heavy. So my recommendation is to go with National Business Furniture for $2,965.
Motion to approve the recommendation by the city clerk in regard to the fireproof records cabinet bid.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Costello, seconded by Alderman Shell Harvey. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Gary Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Costello?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Carries 5-0 with one absent. All right, bills to ordinance time. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 64-17.
I would like to introduce bill number 64-17. I would like to add or amend the ordinance to read to include annual financial statements. And other than that,
Annual audited?
annual audited financial statement. We don't get financial statements currently. That just shows you a little bit more of where they're spending their money.
Added verbiage would be annual audited financial statement.
Second.
And I would ask that if this is approved, that we expeditiously get the Greater Warren County organization their funding.
All right, so motion has been made by Alderman Costello to add the verbiage of annual audited financial statements required.
Yes.
It's been seconded by Alderman Ock.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a service agreement between the City of Warrenton, Missouri and the Greater Warren County Economic Development Council and to include annual audited financial statements.
I'll Entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 64-17 with the added verbiage.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who seconded it.
Alderman Miller.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Gary Miller.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a service agreement between the city of Warrenton, Missouri and the Greater Warren County Economic Development Council and require annual audited financial statements.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Costello,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Gary Miller.
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. All right. Entertain a motion to close the regular Board of Aldermen meeting.
Before we close, I'd just like to again thank the city for all their support and help on the tribute to the Veterans Memorial Project. I do want to point out that the last gift that we received last Friday from the city was a little bit over the top. We found a pond in the parking lot that required about 250 yards of dirt to be removed. Wow. And it's all cool. It worked out.
It was a little surprise.
Yeah, but Brad Boozy Cruz says he remembered the pond. Mike, you might from your childhood. But I guess that was a farm at one point before it was a Denny's and before it was a hotel motel. But there was a lot of muck there, I can tell you that.
I know there's a lot of excitement building for that to get done. I've had a number of people ask me about it, when we're going to get started and when it's going to be done, that sort of thing. So I think that particular item that we're adding to the city of Warrenton is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to draw tourists to our restaurants, gas stations, all those sort of things, and it's going to be first class.
And I think a note of thanks and acknowledgement to the Tourism Commission too.
Yes.
They did a good job on questions. Alderman Costello was there, Wendell Webb was there, and they had some concerns, but I think they felt like it was doable, and so again, they did a thorough job on it, I thought, so.
I did too. Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
Second.
Motion is made by Alderman Costello, seconded by Alderman Shorty. All those in favor say aye.
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 We are so adjourned.